Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Madoka Magicast. We forgot to mention this in our pre-show, but Madoka Magica, the anime, and our podcast comes with a bit of a content warning. There really isn't anything that explicit in the show. There's no extreme violence or guro. There's very little blood. There are a few deaths, but there isn't like mass murder. There's no sexual assault. But it is a dark magical girl anime, and it is kind of what's the word I want to look for? It's got some intense moments in it, intense emotional moments. And some of our discussion of the show may veer into topics related to death, violence, sexual assault, feminism. What else am I potentially forgetting?
Just mature themes in general, really.
Mature themes. Yeah, mature themes. So if anything gets too serious, we will try to mention a content warning before each episode. If we find after we recorded the episode that we got into a heavy topic that maybe needs a warning. But just an overall warning for both the show and the podcast is that there are some mature things going on here. So you have been warned. All right. I think that should be good enough. Hello and welcome to Madoka Magicast, a podcast devoted to the dark magical girl anime Puella Magi Madoka Magica. I'm your host Amanda, and I'm joined by my co-host Yasha.
Hi!
And my sometimes co-host Vanna.
Hello!
Who are owners of the biggest English language revolutionary girl Utena fansite, Empty Movement. I'm joining them as they watch Madoka Magica for the first time ever, and we're going to talk about what we love and sometimes don't love about the show as we get through it. Alright, so we're here for the first episode of the show, episode 1. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
Doing pretty good.
I'm really looking forward to, I know I mentioned this at the end of last recording, I'm really looking forward to kind of picking apart the intro, because there's some weird shit going on.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot to chew on.
Yes, this is episode 1, titled As If We Met in a Dream. First aired January 7th, 2011. Script written by Gen Urobuchi. Storyboarded by Yoshiharu Ashino. Episode directed by Yukihiro Miyamoto and animated by Ryoma Ebata. So, as I mentioned last episode, very sorry for mispronouncing all of those things incorrectly, but I really that.
Okay.
So, before we get into the episode and the opening, do you guys have any initial thoughts about this episode?
Initial thoughts. Well, I mean, it's still just setting things up. Like, it's,
Yeah.
I was actually kind of surprised by how I didn't really realize until very, very recently that this was such a short series. And I actually kind of liked that the first episode paces itself as if there's more behind it. Like, it doesn't try to rush things a whole lot. I actually found it fairly easily paced instead of just like, blammo, all the information and all of the stuff.
It's not rushing you.
Yeah, I really feel like the first and second episode are really the introduction.
Yeah.
And then the show actually starts in episode 3 and onwards. So this is kind of just a preliminary first couple episodes.
It's like the two-parter.
But yeah, it's like a two-parter introduction. I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe we should go ahead and talk about, to begin with, the opening, which is called Connect, and is by, I think, a J-pop group called Claris. Although, actually, the episode opens with a little bit of a,
Yeah, do you want to do this, like, chronological to the episode?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, that's fine. Oh, that's right, because there is a cold open. So we have a cold open first with Madoka running through, or who we will learn later is Madoka, running through some kind of weird checkerboard world. And the walls are checkered, the floor is checkered. She passes by these weird spinning wheels. There's all these strange lines and signs and scaffolding all around her. She climbs up everything's black and white. She climbs up this black and white staircase. And when she gets out into, she gets up to like a door, again, everything's still checkerboarded. And when she opens it, she finds herself in like this weird post-apocalyptic ruined building hellscape on top of a tree or something.
Yeah, it's very...
I love the way they're using textures and stuff in this right now. Like, I love how the checkerboard world was so, like, clean, and then you get into this apocalyptic hellscape, and everything is broken, and the colors are a lot, like...
Well,
like
you
when
go
you're
from,
in the...
like, stark black and white to grays.
Yeah.
Like, literal shades of gray. Har har.
Yeah, it's very desaturated, except for, like, all of the magic attacks, because she comes out and she sees this girl fighting some kind of monster and, you know, shooting lasers, shooting fire at each other, exploding into buildings, crashing into buildings, and we don't know what's happening, and apparently Madoka does, however, and she seems to think this is just so terrible what this girl is going through fighting this monster, and there's a little guy next to her, a little cat boy, and little creepy cat boy tells her that she has the power to change all of the destruction if she really wanted to. And all she has to do is make a contract with him to become a magical girl.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Totally no pressure.
It's like a used car salesman of magical girls.
It's true. Oh no.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. From there, we basically move into the opening.
But
we have the room full of cubes.
The room full of cube stuffed toys.
Oh my god, yes.
She wakes up in a room full of
and it was
stuffed
all
animals
a dream.
And all, like, cube.
It was all a dream.
It was the punk out.
Yeah.
This was a dream. Owned.
I don't know. Okay, so what do you think about the cold open? What do you think it's telling us? Like,
well, it establishes, like, very explicitly from literal first glance that her and
Homura,
a character we have not met yet.
Yeah, but
that
we know
you're going
it's
to
Homura.
pretend they don't know each other, already know each other on some level. Like, you're already set up to consider them like a connected pair in some way instead of...
Yeah, and it's like, I would also say it's setting up its intentional cliches as well.
Yeah.
Because having a prophetic dream about someone you don't know is like a very cliche, very anime thing to start off the show with. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing about it is, like, we're going to end up there. You know what this is like? Okay, have you seen Hannibal, Amanda?
I have not. No,
I have not. Okay.
It's the best anime.
It is the best anime.
It's such a good anime.
But, they actually do something very similar with Hannibal at the beginning of season 2. They show you this very intense scene. Just in case you see it, I'm not going to spoil you. But they show you this very intense scene that you're sitting there going, oh my god, how did they get there? What happens? Because it's so different. The characters are relating to each other in such a different way than we left off at the end of season 1.
It's like a spoiler, but not a spoiler because you haven't been given any context.
And that's what this feels like. This is meant to make you go, what's going on? How do they get here?
This scene is going to make sense later.
Yeah.
Kind of
I actually really
the same
like
kind
that.
of thing as, like, the mission statement for the show. Kind of like the way Uchina opens with a Prince story, or a magical girl usually opens with something kind of similar. There's that, like, here's what we're going for. And what we're going for is this very, black and white shifting to grays literal thing there.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. How it's like a visual metaphor for how the show is going to progress.
It's basically just spoiling right away that if everything is going to seem super clear cut, and then suddenly it's not going to be so clear-cut anymore.
Also, it's spoiling in a sense. It's narrowing down your cast to who the important people are.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's spoiling so much as it is cleverly foreshadowing things that are only clear in hindsight or in spoilers.
Yeah.
But it is definitely a good way to open your series, being like, this isn't what it looks like.
Yeah, especially when you move right into basically normal everyday life after that.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. We're at the opening.
So let's talk about this opening.
Dat opening, dough.
Dat opening. Okay.
Okay, so you guys seem to have a lot you want to talk about with the opening, so why don't I give the floor to you, because you seem to be eager to comment on it.
Yes, first thing, this tells you that it's not going to be a happy show. Like, right
she's
off the
literally
bat.
crying right off the bat.
Yeah,
and she's squeezing her outfit. And...
Yeah, the first time you see Madoka in the opening, she's crying. Like, she's crying. And that's not really something that strikes me as being normal for a
not framed this way. Because, I mean, the whole, like, characters crying in the opening thing is I don't want to say a trope, but you do see it a lot, but it's always framed very differently from this.
In Utena, Sayonji is crying in the
or
opening.
it's like, oh, it's this tear, and then, it blows up into this bombastic... Like, it's not usually, oh, she's literally, like, crying with grief on her face.
Okay, here's what I would say about that. I don't know if I 100% agree with you guys, although I do think it's meant to be a little bit of a clue. But the song that's going along with this part in the opening is about, shaking off the surging darkness and moving forward even though you are unhappy. And also, I don't know if it's necessarily unusual to see crying in magical girl shows.
Yeah, no, that's, like, that is probably way more your specialty.
Honestly, that doesn't seem to me to be something that's like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand, but it's also, you've still got that peppy J-pop opening.
Oh, it does,
and
absolutely.
She's still very cute, and we've got these pastel-colored blue spheres floating. And so I don't know. I think you're maybe onto something, but I will say that
it's just really weird.
I think the thing with me for the crying is it's not just the crying; it's the crying as well as like her doing the thing where she's grabbing her dress, and like me being clothes weird person.
Yeah,
jam. That's like a very
that's
like
a
when you're grabbing your
thing.
Clothing the way she's doing it. It's. Like, usually they're trying to convey something like either, like, a discomfort with the clothing you're wearing, which comes up in Utena a lot, or just, like, nervous tension, or, like, there's this kind of disconnect between some of the, like, cueing and the body language in that, and then everything around it, but I feel like that's very deliberate, and it's not...
Yeah.
Oh,
so
for sure. For sure. I think maybe what I'm just trying to say is that I don't think it's spoiling it.
Oh,
no, necessarily.
No, but I think it's another thing like the cold open. It's basically like we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think starting off this anime, it definitely is obviously less, regardless of how it was marketed from the beginning and what the characters look like. Already within the first 3 minutes of
you've
the
got
cold
some
open,
serious drama.
Yeah, already you're like, oh, there's already something interesting going on here. What is happening? Maybe I'll watch the rest of this and see what's up with all the melodrama at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, I actually hadn't read the lyrics for this at all until just now. Like, this is probably gonna be the first time.
It's actually quite a positive and peppy opening, although it does have some sad ideas and imagery in it.
Okay.
It's kind of...
Is that a reference... Because that looks like that, that sunscreen lotion thing with the little
dog
girl with the dog getting her panties pulled off. Is that a reference? I don't know whether that's a reference or not, but it reminds me of that.
So there's a screen where Madoka is sitting at her desk in school, and she's, like, thinking about stuff that I guess she did as a magical girl. And the first one is a dog biting her dress, and she's, like, running away from the dog.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a reference.
Okay. And then we had Afro Madoka and
smash into a wall Madoka.
Yeah.
Smashing into a wall, riding a broomstick Madoka.
Okay, what's this?
Come on.
What's this bondage outfit one? Okay, this is like...
I will let y'all go off on that because you have been quite fixated on this part of the opening.
Like, why is it there? Why? Why would...
Gen Urobuchi, no!
Yeah. Like, why would you put this here? Why is... Does this have anything to do with the show at all? I hope
this sure aired at 2 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The only thing I can say is that you're meant to go, what the fuck, when that comes up, and it's so brief that you're supposed to go, wait, what did I just see? But aside from that, I cannot defend it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a deep meaning here or anything to defend. It's just like, yep, in case you forgot the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This sure was marketed to dudes and played at 2 a.m. is basically that.
In Madoka's defense, she does not look comfortable with this depiction of herself.
I would know. She looks just as confused as we do.
She looks also very like, I don't know how I got here. Why did my outfit turn out this way?
I don't know. It just
BDSM Queen Madoka, I don't think is the look she'd really go for. Okay, that was a fucking Sarlacc or something, wasn't it?
I just didn't want to make the joke, but
she's fighting monsters and animals.
Yeah.
In the next few events.
Yeah. Okay. This is a fucking Willy Wonka, isn't it?
No, because if it was, she would be blue.
Blue. All right, that's true, I guess.
However, that is some weird fetish adjacent stuff. I'm just saying.
Okay, I'm not going to go quite that far, but she does keep hitting the afro, and I kind of am sad we don't get more afro.
Hold on, let me stop you guys. And I think it would be good, like, before we start commenting, to just mention on the podcast, like, what it is that we're looking at.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I
There was a shot where she suddenly started inflating like a balloon in the opening.
Yeah.
And then she floats away, kind of, and it's like...
Yeah.
And then she comes back with a huge afro.
Yes. There's like 2 shots where she's got the afro, and I'm
Why don't we have Afro Madoka?
I feel like afro.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay. And then we've got Madoka in bed.
But now all of the stuffed animals aren't necessarily Kyubes. There's Kyube, but...
And now
then there's some gay shit. Naked girls making out.
Yeah. Now remember, this is one of those double-edged sword things. So I understand that this is a 14-year-old with sexual details about her body, hugging another 14-year-old with sexual details about her body. Mm-hmm. And it's a copy of herself. It makes you go, what's up with this? But also, don't forget that
there is
Japan,
that whole trope.
Yeah, in Japan, nudity is not seen as inherently sexual as we see it in the West.
No. And I know, like, almost all the magical girl sequences I've ever seen at some point.
Yeah, there's usually nudity.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I took that as, yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that the sequence of her in the opening hugging her also naked but longer haired self, there are some parts of it where, like, you didn't need to add that detail in of
the boobies, like
the boob squishing together, or the curve of her butt from the back. Like, maybe you could have left out some of those details. But at the same time, don't forget that in nudity and magical girl animes are more about it's more about purity and innocence than necessarily being sexual. But also, this is written by a guy who writes slowly visual novels, so take it one way or however you want to take it. Yeah,
I think it can be both in this case.
Yeah,
it's a bit of both.
Like, it is a bit of both.
Here's the way I'm seeing it, because this is something that happens over and over, where it goes right up to the line of, is this supposed to be sexual or not? You know what I mean? Like, and that happens over and over. We've had it happen 3 times in just the opening sequence. So, to me, this tells me that whoever was directing this, or whatever, was trying to play that game where
was
it's
very
like,
aware of that
I want to suggest this without actually coming out and doing it.
Yeah.
See, that's interesting, because in my opinion, that is the most sexual fan service that you get in the entire original show.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me,
That first minute of the opening is the most nudity and sexual fan service that you get in the entire show.
Yeah.
I don't know how to take that, because
to me.
It's really not a... they cram all of that so much at the very beginning, and then you really don't have any of that kind of content in the whole show itself. So,
we have that conversation a lot with Utena, because especially like the ending sequence for the second half of the series is very like sexual, and it has the main characters kissing and stuff like that. And there's like, oh, is this like canon to the actual like text of the story? And the answer is like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just not. There's nothing in the show that makes any of that, really follow. And I kind of feel like Madoka's going to do the same thing, where the opening and closings are, like, not necessarily a canon interpretation of the events of the story, if that makes sense. But they are a view of them.
They're not canon, but for some reason, the director of the show wants you coming in thinking about sex. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. Like, it's kind of an inescapable fact.
But I think it's kind of funny because and this is kind of something we've touched on a couple times, and I don't know if it's already happened on like the second episode podcast that we're recording or whatever. But like the whole thing where there's like this presentation of sexuality, and then this like almost like, you know, naughty you for looking at it this way. We didn't do it this way. Yeah. So like I can kind of see there being like weird panty BDSM shot in the opening sequence, and then this entire series where that isn't really expanded on. But you were looking for it, weren't you? You complete fucking pig at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah, like
I'm kind of like
weird like way that it seems to me that whether this was Gen Urobuchi or whether it was the director or whether it was Shaft or whatever, it just seems to me that there's this kind of wavering on the line between trying to insinuate that these girls should be attractive to the viewer
and then be like, really
backing away from it. Like, it's just really odd because it happens a lot. Anyway.
I mean, we can discuss that some more. I don't know if I completely agree with you just because I know where the show goes and how much it does not play into that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking forward to that, to getting down to that one.
It's just, it's just odd is what it is. Like,
it is weird that it has that stuff in the opening and then just doesn't have it in the show.
Follow up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. But anyway,
so how come she's got like a regular cat in this shot? So like there's like shots of Madoka, and she's like holding this cat, but it's just like a regular cat that looks kind of like What's Your Balls from What's Your Balls.
Sama from Trigun?
No.
We can talk about that later because that is something to talk about when we're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
So it's like, you know, if you're looking at the subtitles for these lyrics, it's like, even if we get stuck on a path that is troubled and difficult, the blue sky waits for us. Like, it's a very hopeful and it's about sticking through hard times and never giving up and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Fairly representative, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds kind of like the Utena opening.
I think pretty much every anime opening is this way.
Audio wise, but like the theme
thematically, it's always
the whole
the kindest version. It's like the opening is like the kindest version of the mission statement, whereas like that cold open with the black, you know, fading into grays and stuff like that is
that's the harsh
brutal
version
mission statement for Madoka, and the truth is somewhere maybe in the middle, perhaps.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So once our opening is done, the first scene we see after is a guy harvesting some cherry tomatoes from a garden.
Some nice tomatoes, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This place is just blinging. They got money.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so this is Madoka's house.
Oh, I just want to point out that all the walls are glass that you can see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is Madoka's house. The show is impliedly takes place in the near future kind of thing, so there just seemed to be some unusual technology present in her home. But otherwise, her family seems to be very idyllic and very, like, happy, and she's got a happy little brother and happy parents, and her little brother's in her parents' room trying to wake up their mom, who is sleeping in bed.
Surrounded by chairs.
Surrounded by mismatching chairs.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you look at also the background of her mother's room, there's like a weird staircase leading up to nowhere in the back. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of different alcoves in the wall. It's just kind of a strange, it's like a very strange shot, whatever it is that is going on in this scene.
It is a very weird shot. The chairs all facing the bed, like, I don't know. To me, when I see a chair, that suggests someone sitting in it. So, like, the suggestion here is of people sitting around the bed watching her mom sleep, which is creepy as fuck. Also, the house has glass walls. Lots of them. So, like, there's this weird vein, and, later on, like, I'm not going to...
prominent chair is explicitly an office chair.
I'll bring this back up later on, because there are more things that reinforce this whole idea of being watched. But these are two of them, and they're in close succession here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so.
But I love the chairs. The chairs are like, fuck you, now you have to watch this.
Yeah.
I have to pay attention.
So Madoka's brother is waking up their mom, and Madoka stomps in, very serious face, throws open the the curtains, basically floods the room with light, and pulls the sheets off their mom, and basically forces her to get out of bed. So this strikes me already as kind of intentionally strange, because it's her dad who is implied to be the stay-at-home dad, and her mom who is the breadwinner.
Mm-hmm. Makes her the exhausted one.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that really that's not really very common there, is it?
It is extremely uncommon. So it's more common now than it was maybe 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. But, Japan as a country, I think it ranks like in the bottom third for women's rights by the UN.
Jesus.
I mean,
it's quite bad. Mm-hmm. It's because of a lack of opportunity for women.
I mean, anywhere that Toga can be considered a feminist, probably not so great. Just saying. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I like her. I remember there being like a story a while back about a woman being reprimanded for getting pregnant out of turn at her workplace. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just...
There was an idol who got attacked by some of her fans a couple weeks ago, who was forced to apologize for reporting the attack.
Yes. And it's like, fucking really?
Yeah, exactly. So
having the mom in a position of power and being the breadwinner is kind of odd.
But it's interesting insofar as how you're going to read that into like what Madoka is coming from, because she's coming from a very different perspective about what her role is than I think you could generally expect a Japanese girl to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it also is meant to contribute to that feeling of this is near future, this is not current Japan.
We've grown.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is something strange about this setting. It's Japan, but it's maybe also not the Japan that you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so we're paused on this shot of her and her mother brushing their teeth, and I didn't notice this the first time around, but there's mirrors in front and behind them.
Yep. So you've got a recursive
you see the
image
reflection
going on.
repeatedly into the mirror.
And all the walls in the bathroom are glass. Just pointing that out, which is really odd.
Not what I would want when I'm taking a dump, but...
It's either glass, or it's a projection from outside, or something. Yeah. It looks like glass. It looks like you can see outside to the trees in their yard. But if they live in a city, they probably don't have property that's surrounded by trees. I don't know exactly what to take from that, but it is definitely a very weird bathroom.
We should start, honestly, like a voyeurism / being watched ticker here, because this is number 3 already.
The mirror thing is driving me nuts now.
Yeah, the mirror thing
because
is
the mirror thing isn't working the way it's supposed to either. Because so they keep switching shots, and it's clearly like a mirror on either side because you see the reflection repeatedly, but the reflection is a different position each time. So like each reflected image of Madoka is from a different point of view, which is not exactly
that's not how that would work.
Which I think is...
The second and third reflections are basically just copy and pastes of the first and second.
Yeah, true. But there's kind of a like disjointed feeling about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of, it seems like it's meant to be a bit disorienting.
Yeah, disorienting is definitely how I would describe it, more than anything. Intentionally disorienting, kind of got a weird atmosphere and mood to it. Mm-hmm. But, the colors are very soft, there's lots of nice light flooding in, and they seem to just be having a normal conversation. They're talking about her friend Hitomi, who got a love letter, and then they talk about her teacher, who Madoka's mother seems to know personally, because they use her first name, and how her teacher is reaching a critical point in her relationship with her boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And Madoka's mom's treating the whole topic very, I don't want to say blasé, but kind of are all-knowing.
Business-like about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of what we're getting from almost everything in this scene, is just her mom's very straightforward, to the point, business-like. Like, even her makeup is labeled. Like,
that's some anal stuff. Like, one makeup drawer isn't just a like teeming hot mess of shit.
Like, mine certainly is.
She has it laid out and numbered To the point of like, yeah.
This is a lot. Like, I'm usually very anal and my makeup sure isn't like this. So I'm actually kind of impressed. That's some organized energy there.
Yes.
And then they have this ribbon conversation.
Well, she's got a ribbon in her hair. Well, she's got a clip in. The mother has a clip in her hair already, and I think it's interesting because she's got like that kind of subdued adult clip, and she's telling Madoka to wear the flashy one. It's almost like,
right,
you know, be 14, goddammit.
Yeah,
have some 14ness.
Which is cool. Like, I like that.
Yeah, and her mom is like, you have to pretend. Or am I thinking into the next episode? Hold on, cut this part out, Panda, if we have to.
Yeah, the secret behind every pretty girl's success.
Her mom says you need to use the flashy ribbon because that'll make all your secret admirers jealous or whatever. And she's like, but I don't have any secret admirers. And her mom says, well, you need to just pretend that you do and just, you know, live your life like you've got all these admirers, girl. And just...
I feel like that's solid advice.
I mean,
yeah, really. Yeah.
You know, stroll like everybody hating.
So they have breakfast. You know, I don't know if we need to spend too much time on this scene.
Yeah.
But they're basically just eating breakfast, and Dad is being a housewife.
It's very domestic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
High end.
They've got the weird mismatched clock with all of the mismatched numbers on it. More disorienting visuals, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the pixelated wall TV thing, because that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That didn't stick as a fashion.
No.
No, the, like, digital picture frames and stuff.
Yeah.
That was a thing for a while and it didn't stick. And we have the toast because, of course, we have the toast.
Of course, we have
Yes,
Madoka running out of the house eating toast.
We have to have
Yes.
the running with toast.
Mm-hmm.
This is anime, don't forget.
Yeah, this is, just in case we didn't know this was anime, we had to have running with toast. Which I do appreciate.
Yeah, so from there, she's heading off to school, and we meet her two friends, Hitomi and Sayaka. Hitomi has green hair, and Sayaka has blue hair, so you can call her green and blue if you have to.
I think I remember the names. I don't know about her, though.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And her friends comment on her flashy ribbons. I don't really feel like they're that flashy, but
No,
I don't get it.
yeah.
No, the yellow would have been flashier. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
With that pink hair, the yellow would have been flashier.
Yeah. So they're talking about Hitomi's secret love letter and how Madoka's mom said that, you know, a guy who sends you a love letter instead of talking to you is, like, not worth your trouble.
The lamest.
Yeah. And basically this scene is establishing that Hitomi is very popular with boys,
Mm-hmm.
and how Madoka maybe is not and is jealous and maybe wants a boyfriend, and then Sayaka's basically just teasing her about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, doesn't seem to express any desire one way or the other about whether she wants secret admirers, but is just using it as an excuse to make fun of her friends.
And they're all the same age, right?
They're in the same
they're in the
grade,
same
so-
grade.
Yeah, because they portrayed them at very different stages of, like Madoka's noticeably less developed, and like, I mean, like, height-wise, breast-wise, like, she's just smaller than the other two, which, I mean, is it's a signaling thing.
Yeah,
she's the innocent
that's
one.
basically just telling you that she's the one who doesn't have very much experience in life.
Yeah. It's totally like the...
Yeah.
I find it funny that they press so hard on the...
Is that supposed to be the Burj Khalifa?
Maybe. But
Huh?
I find it funny that they
tower.
bring this up over and over
In the
again with
shot.
Madoka being, like, because they mentioned it just now. Sayaka was saying, like, something about her being, Madoka being her bride or something like that. Like, them getting married. Which, they bring that back up later on, too. So, and that's just another, like, why do you mention that if you're not going to do anything?
Oh, no,
with
aren't
it
they,
or
like,
mean anything
about to
by
lean
it?
into the not gays?
Yeah.
They do the
Yeah.
requisite. Let's just make
We're
sure
getting
we
ahead
know
of
that,
ourselves a little
that the
bit
not
with that,
gays.
but yeah.
But
like,
no,
that's
like,
gonna
there's
come
a
up
shot
again.
of this, of the like skyline, and one of the buildings looks like the Burj Khalifa, and the
here we
school
go.
looks like a bunch of
Classrooms.
Hold on, how do you spell that?
BURJ KHA.
Oh, yeah, here it
LIFA?
is. I just wanted to look it up because I did not know that. Oh my gosh, you're right. That's
Wow, I
gotta
sure
be,
know my towers and shit.
That's got to be an intentional reference
Because the Burj Khalifa was being built / finished right around now.
Yeah.
Around 2011, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, the tallest building at the time. I think even now.
Yeah, it's in Dubai.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, it looks very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're in school, and they go to school in classrooms that have glass walls.
Again with the voyeurism thing.
Yeah.
And the
just
bars
this
are golden.
Feeling of being watched all the time. Yeah.
So you're in, like, literally a gilded cage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And their teacher, who Madoka and her mom were talking about earlier, and apparently her boyfriend broke up with her because he did not like how she fried her eggs. So 2 things here, okay? Yes, your boyfriend's a jerk for being pissed off that you made him breakfast and he's complaining about how his eggs were fried. However, people have preferences about how their eggs are made. And if you suck at making eggs, maybe at a certain point, they're going to say, listen,
this is a deal breaker.
Yeah, you made them wrong. It's not even a deal breaker. It's just they're going to say something about it eventually if you keep fucking up their eggs.
Mm-hmm. 1 second here. Okay, so we're going through this egg conversation, and almost every conversation up to this point has been about some kind of romantic thing.
Yeah.
So that just strikes me as really funny, because guess who gets introduced now?
Right away.
Homura.
Beautiful transfer student Homura, who Madoka had a dream about.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so tropey when you put it that way.
I know, right?
Transfer student, the beautiful transfer student that
but
can
it's
do
just,
no
I don't
wrong.
know.
And has a
again,
shield.
that feels like just dancing on the line of suggesting something without making it real. You know what I mean?
See, for me, it's just magical girl, destiny tropes kind of thing.
Yeah,
no, I mean
destined.
specifically the fact that every conversation up till this point has been about a romantic relationship.
Well, this is what's important to 14-year-olds.
Yeah, that's what I feel like is being suggested here without actually coming out and saying it. I mean, I guess
there's also
count as gay baiting.
Yeah, but there's also that, like, up to this point, all of the conversations have been about, like, romance and budding romance and all this kind of crap, and then she shows up and does not engage in that conversation at all, and I think it's very, like, that's because she's got shit going on.
Yeah.
She has stuff to do. She's there for a reason.
Yeah, like, I think it's to send the signal that here's someone who has, bigger things on their plate than the usual teen, who's dating who got a letter from who, and Homer shows up, she's like, look, I got shit going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm saving the fucking world, or what have you. I would, like, I don't know, like, is that something that's a common, like, arc in magical girl stuff? Because I feel like a lot of the time there's this sense of, there's the normal childhood that you're supposed to have, and then there's the stuff that, being a magical girl takes away from you almost, and...
Well, I don't know, is that something that got explored before this show?
It really depends on the show. It really depends on the show. So, as we mentioned in the past, there's some, there's pre-Sailor Moon and post-Sailor Moon magical girl shows.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I have seen, most Sailor Moon and after Sailor Moon does take a look at, like, how is this girl's life affected by being a magical girl? That's more of... That became a theme in Sailor Moon, and I think it got carried over into the genre. That's another one of those things that got carried over into magical girl shows generally from Sailor Moon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, it's hard to say, because there are also some elements of just the regular coming-to-age story that might be at play here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so, what was it? Okay. So, was it the teacher wrote Homura's name on the board? And what was it about the name?
I'm not sure what the deal was with the name thing on the board. Like, her teacher starts writing her name in kanji on the board, and then gets to her first name and begins to write it in hiragana instead of kanji, and then stops, and she takes the pen from her and finishes writing it in hiragana. So... my guess would be that she stopped because she wasn't sure how to write her first name in kanji, and she started writing it in hiragana and then stopped, like, how do you write it? And then Homura took the pen, and then instead of erasing it and writing it correctly, she just finished writing her name in hiragana, which is almost like, it doesn't fucking matter, just write it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of feeling I get from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a stereotype that people who don't write in kanji are childish or stupid? Like, because that was mentioned in what's the name of that one? Because you remember the one with the loli girl and the Yankee?
I have no idea.
Kamikaze Girls.
Oh,
In
yes.
Kamikaze Girls, which is scored by the amazing Yoko Kanno. By the way, I love Yoko Kanno's music.
I love her.
But Kamikaze Girls, this is the only place I've ever heard it, so I don't know whether it's true, but they mention at one point that the biker girl writes only in hiragana and doesn't use kanji at all. And the girl, like the
Because it
main
means,
character,
yeah.
mentions that this is the way a 5-year-old would write.
This is very...
Well,
So-
that is definitely a thing that shows up in lots of anime. That's a thing in
Okay.
That's a thing in Sailor Moon too. When they want to emphasize that Usagi is kind of dumb, they mention that she doesn't know a lot of kanji. But
Okay.
when it comes to names, like
that's different.
what kanji people use for their names is a whole separate thing because you can never really 100%. It's not like standardized. So
Okay.
you could have kanji that would seem to be read one way, but for a person's name is read a different way. So
Okay.
so that's why I think she paused to see, oh, how do you write your first name in kanji? And then Homura takes it as if she's going to write it in kanji and then just writes it in hiragana, like it doesn't matter.
The feeling I'm getting from that exchange and what it's supposed to, it's because like the teacher's having a hard time with her name, like as if she just didn't really bother to check ahead of time who this new girl was going to be. And Homura just kind of shows up and is like, God, it doesn't fucking matter. I'm not even going to be here for very long anyway. Or this kind of like...
Yeah, just impatience with it.
Yeah, like there's an impatience with it, but the teacher is not getting the kanji right and is putting it in hiragana because she didn't bother to get to know this girl ahead of time. And there's that kind of like, oh, she's a transfer student. Like, I'm just getting that kind of like vibe of like, I don't belong here as said by the teacher and then as backed up by Homura. So she's just like, let's just get this show on the road kind of almost.
You know what this reminds me of? So all you kids out there who had a weird last name when you were growing up, I had a weird last name when I was growing up. So whenever somebody would ask for my last name, I wouldn't answer them. I would just spell it.
Yes.
Like if somebody like wanted my last name for something, I wouldn't actually say my last name. I would just start spelling it for them because I knew that they were not going to know how to spell it or they were going to spell it wrong. Mm-hmm. So this almost reminds me of that, like,
totally does.
Like, you know what? Let me just spell it for you. Let me just write it for you. You're not going to get it anyway, so let me just do it for you, kind of thing.
Which is that kind of disdainfulness.
Yeah. So after school, everyone is crowded around Homura. They all seem very entranced by how pretty and mysterious she is. And in the background, Madoka, Hitomi, and Sayaka are kind of eavesdropping, and they're commenting on how strange she is and how she seemed to be staring at Madoka. And Madoka is like, well, I think I maybe know her. I'm not sure. And then Homura gets up and says, I'm not feeling well all of a sudden. And she wants to go to the nurse's office. And then without even asking about it, she gets up and says, no, you all don't need to take me to the nurse's office. I'm going to ask the nurse's aide. And she walks directly back to Madoka without even asking what her name was. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, that's kind of odd. How did you know I was the nurse's aide? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's definitely there for a purpose, is the impression that I get. She already knows what's going on.
Yeah, she's like
here
a secret
for a specific reason. And that reason involves Madoka.
Yeah, and so Madoka is taking her to the nurse's aide's office, but Homura is like leading her there instead of Madoka showing her to the nurse's office, which is what she actually said.
Yeah.
And she even makes a right turn, and like she knows exactly where to go. And Madoka is kind of doesn't know what to say about the situation, like, oh, did you kind of know how to get there to begin with? And Homura is just deadpan, like not really talking to her, almost not even paying attention. And it just gets more and more awkward until...
There's like even like that shot where she's scowling almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Madoka starts talking about how, oh, your name, Homura Akemi, it's kind of a cool name, don't you think? And I think it means like daybreak and fire or flames or something akin to that, or flaming daybreak or something. And suddenly Homura stops and looks right at her and says, all of a sudden out of nowhere, she's like, do you love your friends and your family?
And it's this like really ornate, beautifully animated shot too.
Yeah.
It's very...
Actually, I remember I really loved the music in this shot, too. The music is really good.
The music in this whole show is awesome. Yeah. And Madoka's like, yeah, of course I love my friends. This is a weird thing to be asking, but sure. And Homura's like, well, if you really love your friends and you don't want to lose the things that are important to you, then I guess you would never want to change yourself and turn yourself into someone you're not, right? And Madoka's like,
what?
Yes. That's such a obtuse warning, if that's what you can call it, that it's basically meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
You're
I mean?
not helping here.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense, but all right.
Whatever you were going for there, you probably failed.
Yeah. You kind of get the impression that this whole thing was a lead-in to that question for her. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So then we get a little montage of Homura at school, being amazing at math, being amazing at sports, basically just...
being perfect.
Again, this cliche of the mysterious transfer student being incredible at everything, but having like a weird obsession with this girl that she theoretically has never met before.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know? It's very anime tropey. And we see a cute little shot of a shadow, or like a houseplant shadow, like in the school, along the school, and it is Kyubey watching. We know him now, his name is Kyubey, but is a little animal watching from the sidelines in the shadows.
Not worrying at all.
Yeah.
Definitely
still want to point out that you don't introduce good guys that way.
As
that's not
shadows
usually what
cast
you do.
across the entire screen.
Yeah.
Generally, no. But,
Generally, that's not how you introduce a hero.
but yeah.
Although I will say the music during that part is also very
dinky.
lighthearted, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So after school, they're at the mall, and it looks like they are hanging out in something, I don't want to say McDonald's, but some kind of restaurant.
Like a fast food place.
Yeah. And Madoka is telling them about Homura and all the weird stuff that she kept saying, and Sayaka starts like lampshading the cliche anime elements of it, basically. Mm-hmm. She's like, how is she acting so moe and so anime character like that? So weird. And Madoka tells them that she saw her in her dream last night, and they basically just start laughing at her. And there's some more lampshading from Sayaka, like, oh, it's like you're in an anime, and it's your destiny. You knew each other in previous lives, and you were brought back together through fate and space and time. And it's very cliche.
Yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah.
Let me emphasize that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know.
So Hitomi proposes maybe you do know each other, even if you don't remember her. And basically, after this conversation, Hitomi gets up and she has to like piece off to all her like extracurricular activities. So I think she's kind of supposed to be like a preppy kind of kid, like a preppy rich kid, sort of.
She's being bred to be married off.
Or
that's the vibe I get from, we're doing the tea ceremony and we're doing all of the proper
piano and
dance
and
I don't know about married off so much as being the rich prep kid who gets to do all the extracurriculars to puff up her resume.
Yeah, that's kind of more the impression I get.
So they say goodbye to Hitomi and head to a music store before they go home. And then we get a shot of the little white animal Kyubey, who was in the beginning and was hiding in the plant, running away from like purple energy blasts in a dark area. And he's running away from Homura, dressed in like a gray, purple, and black costume, and chasing after him. So back in the mall with Sayaka and Madoka, they are listening to music, and Madoka suddenly hears a voice calling out to her to help whoever it is. And apparently no one else can hear this voice, because nobody in the background is doing anything about it. But Sayaka sees her walk off, and
and they end up near this fenced off area, closed for remodeling.
Yeah, it's like an under construction area of the mall. And she goes past the closed sign and into this, I guess, like a whole floor of the mall that is closed. It's like a big, open, under construction space. And she's calling out. Yeah. Everywhere. There's weird chains and
busted ass Kyubey.
Yeah. And Kyubey, the little white animal, falls from the ceiling, all messed up. Like all banged up and stuff. How did he get in the ceiling? I have no idea. That's weird.
It's a good hiding place.
Yeah, or maybe he strategically fell out of the ceiling.
Or they
to
were
get
on
her
the floor
attention.
above.
Yeah, they might have been on the floor above.
Oh, that's possible, yeah. So with a clank of more chains, Homura appears and tells her to get away from that thing. She seems to be the one attacking it. And Madoka does not want the adorable little animal that looks like a stuffed animal to get hurt, because that's just the kind of softie that Madoka is.
It's not entirely clear, but we get shots of Kyubey being hurt, but his wounds seem to disappear before he gets any kind of help.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch to see if that's backed up.
like, that's actually why...
Like, in this shot, it makes sense because it's from a distance.
Yeah, but it's kind of
just don't seem to line up very...
that his wounds are gone, even when later on they end up healing him.
Yeah, it could be a continuity error, but there does seem to be a few too many close-up shots of him after this.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't seem to be... Like, right now.
Yeah, like, how come we don't see all this, like, banged up blood?
Yeah, because we saw it very, very clearly before.
And then Sayaka comes in being a baller, because...
Oh, yeah. Sayaka shows up with a fire extinguisher and just blows a bunch of... I don't know, what is the stuff in a fire extinguisher? What do you even call it? Flame deterrent? Flame retardant?
Flame retardant, yeah.
And they run off, and then Homura kind of clears away the smoke with her powers, and all of a sudden, crazy shit starts happening.
Yep.
Butterflies and stuff and cards. And
lots of eye imagery in here. Like, lots of eyes.
Of eyes, yeah. Eyes on cards and gardening stuff.
Yeah, the show suddenly takes a hard left into a completely different medium. And we start having like a collage world instead of your typical anime backgrounds and cel-shaded characters kind of world.
See, now he's hurt again.
Now he looks banged up.
Have you ever again? He's hurt, but he's not bleeding anymore.
No. Have you ever heard of Dave McKean? He's like a mixed media artist that did covers for the Sandman comic in the 80s.
Yes, I do know those, and I know exactly which covers you're talking about.
I get like big Dave McKean vibes from this entire aesthetic once they go into the nightmares.
Yeah.
I will say that after you guys mentioned that last time, I looked up some more of his art, and one thing between Inukuri and Dave McKean, so like we talked about in the last episode, Inukuri is the designer who does the monster designs. Mm-hmm. Inukuri's work is much more busy and cluttered.
Oh, yes.
Dave McKean. Yeah. There is no space is empty. There is no empty space in Inukuri's work.
No.
So
no, absolutely not. But it's the same kind of like mixed media sort of.
Yeah. And we've got this like, I don't know, they've got all this neat trippy imagery going on the screen, but a lot of it is focused on there's eyes everywhere.
Well,
eyes,
like literally there's a guy with a camera
flowers.
And a hand on his face.
Yeah.
Big eyes in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then,
I don't know. You know what? I didn't
and...
even recognize that as a camera, but you're right, it is.
It's a camera.
He's holding a camera.
Yeah.
That's an
It's like a camera obscura, like an old one. But...
Yeah.
But, like, again, with the weird, like, paranoia being watched.
The lizard in a bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just all kinds of neat stuff going on here.
It's just like, so much. I love it. There's just much.
Well, it's neat because, like, obviously this is trying to convey information to you in ways that are going to hit you subconsciously first instead of consciously.
Yeah, like, I don't think you're meant to, like, pause every frame and go, this is this and this and this and this and this. It's
yeah.
But you're meant to catch glimpses.
Yeah, it's a rush of imagery in the span of like 10 seconds. And they start, in this creepy little world, there are these little puffball monsters with butterflies for legs, and their heads are like cotton balls, and then they have these old-fashioned mustaches, and no eyes and no mouth.
Yep.
And those are creepy as shit.
Yes.
They're cute and creepy at the same time, somehow. But they seem to be circling them, which can't be a good sign.
No.
Also, there was a bunch of script showing up on the
Yeah,
screen.
there's like all of this like its own language script.
Yeah.
I wonder what it says. I'm not going to look it up because it's probably spoilers.
It's a written, like it's their own language or something.
It is a translatable stuff, but don't look it up because I'm pretty sure some, if not all of it, is spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Oh, we got scissors.
Then we got the scissors and the barbed wire / thorns.
Oh, and now the puffballs have eyes and mouths.
Mouths, but they're
fucked
up, scary eyes and mouths.
Oh my god.
This is like nightmare fuel if you're like a young kid. I do not think I would have liked this at all.
Honestly, I know they're called the witch labyrinths, but I keep calling them nightmares because they just are. Oh, and look,
okay. And there's like fire extinguishers, but that's like we just saw the fire extinguishers
with mustaches on them and
more
looks
chains.
Like medics.
Yeah, like
medic
figures
hats. Figures with medic
or
hats.
hard hats. Because they're in a construction zone.
Oh, yeah, that's right, too.
And stoplight and stuff.
And here we go.
And then there's, like, jury hair chick.
There's like an explosion of shiny golden light among all the nightmare imagery, and this girl with blonde hair and, like, drill pigtails appears. And she says, oh, thank you so much for saving Cube, which is the little white animal. And she says, he's a very important friend of mine. And Madoka's like, I don't really know what's going on, but he was calling to me, so I decided to help him. She doesn't really have much time to say more than that because they are apparently getting attacked again by the thorns and the mustache men. So instead, she has her little adorable magical girl transformation sequence here. Mm-hmm. I like this one quite a bit. She basically stomps into her shoes, her skirt appears, her bows appear on her outfit, and she does a little flourish to get the feathers show up on her hat, and then she's good to go.
Yeah.
Kick some ass.
Exactly. I really like her design a lot.
I love the gun.
Yeah.
The gun is cool.
Okay, when we first watched this, you kept on pointing out that one of the shots there seems like
it's
a
the
direct
scroll.
reference.
The scroll work flying like across the screen. Looks very like a shot in Utena in the
looks
film.
like the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like it could be coincidental, but
yeah, same. Also, like, the array of guns floating in the air pointing at,
that's some Xenogears shit, and I'm going to maintain that there are Xenogears references in this because it's so full of, like, 90s... It's so full of, like, 90s JRPG vibes, I swear.
Well, don't forget that stuff is just Japanese tropes in general and isn't necessarily
it
just
really does
RPG
remind me
tropes.
of the Swords of Hate, though. It really reminds me of the Swords of Hate from Utena. Just the way that those guns are
Yeah, there's like a similar
framed.
visual language across like all of these different things.
Mm-hmm.
We just keep mentioning those particular ones because they're the ones
we're most
we know.
familiar.
But
Yeah, you guys are the Utena people, so I expect most of the references you pick up, potential references that you guys pick up on to be that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's probably a cool image in general to have floating weapons in the sky pointed at an enemy and all going off at once. Yeah. But anyway, she basically seems to fight off the monsters, and the nightmare stuff goes away
pretty fast. Like
and then who is still standing there but Homura?
Not impressed.
Yeah, who was trying to attack little Cube, and Mami basically says, what does she say?
She passes the witch off. She's like, "Hey, if you want to go kill it, you can have it."
Yeah, and Homura's like, well, I don't, that's not why I was here. And Mami's like, maybe you're not listening, bitch. But I was trying to say that you should fuck off now before I do anything about you being here. And Homura basically just stares at her, and Mami does this very passive-aggressive smile. And Homer's like, fine, and just leaves.
And, yeah.
And there's the exits.
Yeah,
it's the same exit sign from the opening sequence.
Yeah. So that opening sequence definitely had a lot of visual parallels to this scene here on the under construction floor. Not sure what the point or what they were trying to do there was, but maybe we'll find out later. But yeah.
Well, I have a theory there. I mean, as far as like,
what's your theory?
Well, I mean,
remember, I cannot confirm or deny, so just say your theory, and I will not make any commentary.
It's not like a major thematic thing or anything, but like, I'm going to, hypothesize that a lot of the imagery that's kind of ancillary in the nightmare sequences and stuff like that are things that you've seen in the real world around the episode. Like with this time, you had a lot of this imagery, like construction work and the fire extinguishers and things like that. And I feel like that I would not be surprised if that's something consistent throughout them, because it's
see
like, it is a
scissors
dream,
at all?
so you're going to have visuals that are inspired by what you've seen around you as well, kind of thing.
Did we see scissors at all in this episode outside of the labyrinth? I don't think we did.
Yes.
Yeah?
I don't
Literally,
think so.
right, the first shot is the father cutting the tomatoes with scissors.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
It's the first shot of the show.
Yeah.
Basically.
Sorry, I'm glad you remembered that.
But yeah, like, I feel like you're just going to have a lot of that, the repeating imagery from, like, the real world bleeding into these scenarios, kind of, so... I'm going to be looking for that, because that seems to
definitely.
be it happened
actually,
here a lot this
that
episode.
Suggests that anything that wasn't in the real world is something important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
you'll see how it works.
Or like
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like, clearly they're not just throwing stuff on the screen for the sake of throwing stuff on the screen.
Yeah.
They're
I don't think so,
using
anyway.
this. They're doing this.
I brought this. I made this comparison like the first time we recorded, and like I get the nightmare sequences feel very much like J.A. Caesar's songs in the sense that they're kind of nonsensical, but they're not. But
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. We have to remember. Tell the audience who J.A. Caesar is in case they don't know.
in Revolutionary Girl Utena, when you have your nightmare sequences, which in that show are like duels. With other characters. The duels are always joined with these, like, rock opera, like, these weird-ass songs. And the songs are all written by this J.A. Caesar guy that was, alt-rock, trippy shit from the 70s, LSD theater guy.
And he uses a lot of reference and symbolism, and...
It's basically the lyrical equivalent of these sequences, I feel like.
Extremely, extremely dense.
They're very strange. Like, just to go back on J.A. Caesar, and, like, because J.A. Caesar is, like, one of the strangest things about Utena, in my opinion, that really adds to its what the fuck is it trying to say kind of feeling. Because otherwise it's, like, it doesn't make any sense why it's like that. And the thing with J.A. Caesar is that it's like Greek chorus gospel meets classic rock. It's very strange, and if you watch, each duel in Utena has its own J.A. Caesar song to it, and if you listen to the lyrics, sometimes they're kind of related to what's going on in the episode, and sometimes it just doesn't seem to have any relation at all.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's similar in the sense that it seems to, the imagery versus the lyrics in Utena have this thing where they are tangentially related, where you're not sure if it's an intentional reference to help you understand what's going on, or if it's just trying to be disorienting, or trying to be strange, or trying to add to this weird tone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And either way, there's just this insistence on density.
Yeah.
Like, either the lyrics or the visuals, like, in both cases, it's just so much.
Multi-layer.
You could chew on it or not. And if it is anything like with Utena, the story and the coherence of the plot in Madoka isn't going to rely on you being able to interpret those symbols. But if you feel like doing so,
there's probably
you'll get
a lot for you.
You might get more to chew on. But they won't be necessary.
One thing I will say is that Madoka is, in my opinion, the first series of Madoka is the kind of show that it is not heavily up to interpretation in terms of the plot summary of what happens in the show. So you will get into this later, but it has a pretty clear beginning, middle, and end. The rules are very concrete. You're not going to spend a lot of time trying to understand what happens ultimately, but there is more to say when it comes to the characters and the aesthetics and some of the implications, I think. Like, with Utena, you could debate just what the hell is actually going on for hours.
Yes. What is happening. And we have. We sure have.
Madoka's not similar to Utena in that way, but it is similar in the sense of the density you were talking about.
I'm looking forward to that.
Basically, like,
that's,
I don't know, if you want to read in, those things are there.
And I like, that's what's
to understand.
That's kind of like the kind of thing that really drew me in pretty quickly with this show. Is I love when a piece of media can have it both ways and manage to juggle both.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, you can watch Madoka and not read into that and still have a coherent, interesting story with a compelling narrative. Or you can, go all balls in and chew on every little shot of it, and you'll still get more out of it, but you didn't have to do that to enjoy it. Right. And I like when they can juggle both, because sometimes, like, stuff gets its head really far up its ass to the point where it's like, oh, this makes no sense unless you are literally sitting there with, like, I don't really want Ulysses in my anime as a rule. I don't want to, like, require a dictionary or Wikipedia to follow. I feel like generally with things I like, they shouldn't need that to make sense or have impact.
I agree with you.
But it's fun to have that on top of it.
Yeah.
If you feel like it.
Utena for me kind of rides the line between those two things.
It does.
I think its themes are consistent enough to kind of overcome any confusion that you... Like, it's just consistent enough for you to follow it. And the character arcs are just emotionally consistent enough for you to get something out of it. Whereas, and if this comes up again, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but whereas something like Evangelion, which for me is...
I was like trying not to do...
I know. I am a notorious Evangelion hater, so I'm sorry, people listening to this who like Evangelion. We're probably going to talk about it again
finally.
in the future.
No, I don't hate Ava, but it's not, it's not that deep.
It's a seriously flawed work, and I kind of like it for it being such a hot fucking mess, but it definitely falls on, like, the far end of that issue.
Throwing stuff at the screen
to see what sticks and makes it deeper, and you're like, oh.
For me personally, Eva is, if you have a gradient graph, where one side is everything is perfectly coherent and there's no symbolism, and the show is just, you're supposed to take it as it is on its face value. And then the other end is no plot, no story, all symbolism, like almost like a music video kind of thing, where it's just visuals and emotions and ideas, and there isn't really a story. Between Madoka, Utena, and Evangelion, Madoka is the most towards coherency, and then Utena is more in the middle, and then Evangelion is way more on the side of
needle buried,
more like a over stylized emotional music video than a coherent story. Yeah. So I personally need a certain degree of coherency in my stories. Personally, those are the kind of stories that I like. That's why Eva doesn't really do it for me. But if you're, people who are listening to this, if you like Eva, that's fine. I'm not trying to tell you you're not allowed to like Eva. I'm just
no, sorry, Eva fans suck. The end.
Yeah.
Okay, I like Eva, but that is like 1,000% a legitimate criticism, and I kind of like Eva because I get to bitch about it so much.
And, like, I'm somebody who really likes the movies because the movies are so much more coherent than the series is. So, and I know a lot of people feel completely opposite, like they hate the movies and love the series. So it's one of those things where your mileage may vary.
But like all of these different things kind of play with the same game. And the fact that we're already putting it up there with like we're already talking about Madoka in terms of being up there with like Utena, which is like our shit, but Evangelion is a very well regarded as, even whether you like it or not, it is that, standard.
Yeah.
As far as symbolic shit. I didn't say symbolic relevance because it's not.
It's not relevant.
There's a bunch of shit in Eva that doesn't mean a fucking thing.
Yeah.
But that we're already talking about Madoka in like terms of that pantheon, so to speak, I think is
and
it's a good sign.
I think it's deserved, and there's a reason this show is still going so strong. 8 years later with so little new content. Considering it's been 8 years and has only been so much that has come out in this franchise since this series first aired, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so why don't we go ahead wrap up this episode with that. Basically, Mami heals, quote-unquote, Kyubey with her gem, although we can debate how much healing he actually did.
Kyubey actually
I don't know, like, to be honest, I don't think that's an important point, exactly. It's just odd. There's just so many things.
It's just another weird dissonant note surrounding Kyubey.
Yeah.
I don't have that filter yet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have the filter yet to be able to tell what's important and what's
That's
not,
okay.
So
I would rather you bring it up anyway, whatever it is that sticks out to you. So, basically, Kyubey says he was the one who was calling out to her, and he already knows both Madoka and Sayaka's names. And Kyubey says, well, I know you because I came here to ask you to make a contract with me and become magical girls. And that's the end of the episode. We cut straight to the ending.
And Kyubey's a creep.
Well, I like that the last shot there of Kyubey is all like shiny and
Well, that's why I'm saying he's a creep, though, is because whenever you see him that he's not the little arched eyes and all of that kind of thing, he's just got these, like, round Hannibal Lecter-looking eyes that never blink
on that at some point. Like, he just does not blink unless he's doing, like, the anime, like, semi-lunar thing.
Yeah.
It's just this, like, unblinking stare.
Yeah, he's a creep.
He's pulling a Hannibal.
He's definitely... I mean, come
Which
on.
is great! That's fine.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm here for that. But it is definitely like, I don't know. So, question.
Yes.
Do the next episode sequences have any?
Yeah, are they important
deep,
at all?
horrifying
Because, like,
relevance? Because I've had that experience.
in Utena, there's at least one next episode where Anthe straight out says she hates Utena.
Yeah,
so they talk out of character.
I don't think that they are that significant in this show.
Okay.
I honestly don't remember any of them being particularly important, so we can probably skip them. Listeners, if you want us to go over the next episode segments, send us a message and tell us. Otherwise, maybe we'll skip them.
Okay, Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, hey, did we get any Curious Cats?
Yeah! So let us go ahead and see if we got any listener or future listener questions, even though the pre-show has not gone up yet as we are recording this.
Yeah,
so
I'm guessing this will become a richer section as we go along.
Probably, yeah.
But I do think we got at least one or two. This question is kind of a big one that we could probably do a whole episode about.
Excellent.
Is it a spoiler?
It is not a spoiler. Okay, so Anonymous asked, "Hi, I'm a big fan of Madoka and the magical girl genre in general, so it frustrates me when the anime bros talk about Madoka as the only good magical girl show because it's dark and serious, even though the genre is filled with dark and serious shows. What do you think about that fan base, and what do you think it says about how the magical girl genre is treated as a genre in mass criticism in general?" So that's kind of a big question.
Yeah, that's a huge question. God.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's a lot.
Once it's over, that would definitely be something to do an episode on.
Yeah, that would be something to chew on.
Maybe I will save that one for the future. So, sorry, Anon, that we're not going to be addressing that one too quickly.
Yeah, wait for it. It's coming.
Here's a second one, which is a little bit easier. If you could make your own magical girl show, what would you do and how would you handle it? Well, I can tell you right from the beginning, as myself, that I would do my personal remake of Sailor Moon in exactly the way that I wanted it to be.
Cousins?
No cousins. Absolutely not. Cousins? Absolutely not. I could write you thousands of words about what I would want from a Sailor Moon reboot. I could literally go on and on about that for hours. Toei, if you need
But you have a Sailor Moon reboot, and from what I understand, nobody likes it.
Yeah, it is Sailor Moon Crystal.
I love Crystal personally, but I'm also the target audience of Crystal, and what most people don't understand is that most people are not the target audience of Crystal. But oh my god, we should not get into Crystal discourse.
I'm completely lost with Sailor Moon stuff. I don't know anything about Sailor Moon. The only thing I ever watched was the R movie, and that's it.
I love the
as far as magical
the R movie
girls
was very good.
Go, if we had a magical girl,
honestly, we would just make some like totally grim dark
either that or it'd be a parody, like a complete parody. Because we don't ever do anything that isn't
I would pull an Ano making Evangelion.
Oh yeah.
And make like grim dark, throw all the symbolic shit at the wall just to kind of be like, have fun trying to figure my crap out. Just like random Joyce quotes but in German and then filtered through like Finnish or something. Like just a bunch of bullshit just to be mean.
You'd troll people.
I'd probably use this power for trolling, to be
honest.
I use my magical girl powers for evil.
All right, cool. Well,
valid.
So do we want to do like our if you had one wish for this episode bit to close us off?
Sure.
If you had one wish for this episode, what would you do? I'll let you guys go first. What would you wish for? Now, this can be either a silly answer or a serious answer.
Seriously.
I'm gonna stick with serious for most of these, probably, because that's just how I do. I find the characters are a little bit bland. I would like kind of deeper characterization, because as it stands, we kind of have these one-dimensional characters going on. The only one who seems to have more going on is Homura.
And it is just the first episode, so we will get more into what's going on with them.
Yeah, like that's not me saying that this is bad. That's just me saying that that's what I would wish for.
Give more.
Yeah.
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 How about you, Vanna?
When's the family gonna bite it? Like, I don't know exactly what it is I'm wishing for, per se, but I'm wishing for some sort of addressing of
You're
the
wishing
absurd...
Madoka's parents are dead.
No, of the absurd idyllicness of this family unit. That I just find so, like, logic-breaking, and so against literally everything I know about anime.
A happiness in my grimdark anime.
Yeah, I'm like, y'all are too... No story has people this happy and functional.
Prepare to die.
You've watched Utena too long.
No, anything. Like, anything. When do you see such an idyllic family unit that isn't about to bite it?
Okay, no,
or suffer in some terrible way. Like, I'm thinking like happiness of the Katakuris, even.
Yeah, that was definitely not idyllic.
It starts out all idyllic, and then there's corpses everywhere. Like, that is such a trope that I'm used to seeing in everything, where if you see someone happy to that extent, it's there to suffer. It's literally the dog that dies in John Wick. Like, here's this happy, it's dead. And then he, like, loses his mind and goes on a killing spree over the dead dog. And you're like, I feel this.
Yeah.
I immediately, like, I'm waiting for that. Like, it's just so hard not to it's so hard to see these happy people and not expect them to die.
You sound like such a misanthrope. I'm sorry. Why did I marry you?
If I had one wish for this episode, I would wish for a bathroom that does not have windows.
Yeah,
that is weird.
That is really weird and creepy. Like
a bathroom, or I should say, maybe not with no windows, but not where every single wall from top to bottom is window.
Yeah, that's some big exhibitionism.
That's just, I don't know. It's a running theme in the entire episode, and it's the kind of thing that
all the walls are glass.
You look at it and you go, oh, well, that's supposed to be futuristic, and then you don't really consider it further than that. You know what I mean? Not unless it's pointed out, and you go, hey, here's voyeurism here, voyeurism here, voyeurism here. There's a whole bunch of eyes over here. And all of those things kind of aggregate.
You know what? If this were made, like, right now in modern day, I would totally be getting, like, cell phone screen vibes from all of that.
Yeah? Yeah,
because, like, you see, like, there's, like, that, there's, like, that, weather ticker thing on the wall.
And
like, all of the, like, digital screens and stuff that they're writing their names and things like that on. Mm-hmm. If that were, like, set in modern day, I would feel like that's very much, like, referential to, like, not so much smart TVs and stuff, but, like, cell phones.
It's only, 10 years. Smartphones were around.
They were around, but I don't think that the symbolic language around them had been written as much yet. Whereas at this point, there is, like, a language around how that is used.
How the smartphone
and it looks very much like this in many ways, but I don't think it was deliberate just yet.
The Bluetoothification of everything had not happened yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting in that case that they stumbled on a lot of the same images.
But so
that
was episode 1.
So that was episode
1. Yes. So thank you guys for listening. We will move on to the next episode. That would be truly wonderful in the next podcast episode. But for now, we are going to sign off. So if you want to follow the show, you can follow us on Twitter at Madoka Magicast, which is basically Madoka Magica with an ST at the end. Also on Tumblr at the same username. You can find links on either our Tumblr or Twitter to everything else. So links for us, links for the SoundCloud, links for the YouTube channel, etc., etc. If you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me at Lambda Power. So that's Lambda, like the Greek letter, and then Power. And if you go to my Twitter, that has links to everything else I do too. And how about you guys?
You can find literally all of our web presences in one spot on the front page of ohtori.nu. That's our website, Empty Movement. If you don't want to go there and check it out, though, we're on Twitter, ohtori_nu.
All right, and thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you in the next episode.
Bye!